How far do you think Minnesota can go without Karl Anthony Towns in the playoffs? I mean, they're currently, for the time being, they have the win record over the Denver Nuggets. So they're currently the number one seed. They still have the number one defense. They're top five in point differential right now. We're saying the West is stacked, but how far do you think they can potentially go? I've been watching the past 2 weeks without Cat, and I really love their team, man. I really, really, really love their team. I'm gonna go on a limb to say if we take out the Denver Nuggets, I think 2 through 8, um, they can beat any team in a 7-game series without Karl Anthony Towns. I love their roster. It feels like if Anthony Edwards can step up and be a little bit more smart with his shot selection in the crunch time, I think they'll have a chance. And if Mike Conley can just play steady, make his shots, get his players involved, I think they'll be good because I like the pieces that they kind of have around them as well too. But I've been watching them play specifically more so within the fourth quarter, and how they generate their efficient shots and how they can still put pressure at the rim and how they play stout defense. Now it's going to be a little bit different, right, as well too. Like the one thing I do love about Cat is he stretches the floor. Rudy Gobert, it's going to be kind of tough when you have two bigs on there, and Rudy Gobert can't really guard those smaller guards, and you have to go small. But that's why I also like Naz Reid. So my only red flag right now is probably Rudy Gobert's limitations defensively when they start to exploit weaknesses. But right now, I haven't seen a team yet, even though we're stacked in the West, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm kind of outside of Denver. Like, oh my God, I'm kind of scared of you. But how you feel about the Minnesota Timberwolves?
I think that one, like y'all already know how I feel about Cat. I can't believe that nigga made the All-Star team. That to me is just ridiculous. But I think that right now their record is 10-3 without Cat. I don't know. I don't want to say that they're better without him because they don't have another scorer on their team that really takes that place. In terms of, like, you're talking about, like, stretching the floor and everything else. Like, he is a good scorer. I definitely can't take that away from him.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, like Rudy Gobert, every year that we see him in the playoffs, usually
He's on the bench.
somebody, either that he's on the bench or when he's on the court, somebody's taking advantage of him. So that is always going to be something that's tough, especially when it's a strength that you rely on in the regular season. It's similar, we were talking earlier about the Kings. Like Sabonis, you rely on him to do all these things in the regular season, and all of a sudden when you get to the playoffs, you have to play differently. And that, everyone plays differently in the playoffs, but having to change that drastically is very big. So I think that, the Timberwolves have the potential. Like, honestly, it's like we were saying about, the Mavericks, bro. Like, they have the potential
Everybody
to do
got
something.
a shot.
Well, I actually don't. I don't know if I see the Timberwolves in the conference finals. I really don't. I think that maybe next year they could do it. I think that maybe they should, like we were saying, I think replace Mike Conley with maybe just someone a little bit younger or something like that.
But I would love if DeJounte Murray could find his way over there, bro.
Oh yeah, I don't think they can do that.
Yeah, I don't think they can do that.
Because they weren't able to get Rudy Gobert until they traded D'Angelo Russell, right?
Yeah.
And D'Angelo, they make around like that similar amount of money. Or at least D'Angelo Russell was. I think he might be on a new contract now. But Timberwolves gave him a lot of money.
And Timberwolves give up a lot of their picks to get Rudy, right?
Hell yes.
Yeah,
too
so
much.
They're fucked.
Way too many.
Yeah, they're fucked.
That's why they got to make this work. Which Timberwolves right now.
They be strapping, man.
Yeah, but the Timberwolves right now are the Hawks. They are the 60-win Hawks to me. I don't.
Who's the Hawks superstar though?
No. Anthony Edwards is way better than any of the people on the Hawks. I don't want to fully
Now, if you said
roster-wise.
I don't want to say Hawks. Now, if you said Utah with Donovan Mitchell, maybe.
Yeah,
I think that's more comparable.
But even those Hawks made it to the conference finals
In the East, nigga.
I know. Still,
Yeah,
I'm just saying. They still did make it kind of far.
Yeah, they did.
I think everything with them hinges on Anthony Edwards. That's really like end all be all. He has the potential to be great, but then it's honestly he proves it every week. He might have a week full of good games, but on average, it's like he'll have, I might go for 30 2 times in this week, and then the other game I'm gonna go for 9. And that's just not, you can't have that with your like main guy, and especially in the playoffs,
especially with no cat.
And yeah, he's just way too prone right now to have like these really terrible games. And it reminds me last year of the playoffs and play-in. Like he played awful in their first play-in game that they lost, and then the second one he was good, and then he was pretty good in the playoffs. But like, you just gotta, to make it far, you can't have the like terrible games when you don't have the people around you. Like Steph, I don't really think he even had that many terrible games before they got to the finals in like their run. But if he did, at least, okay, I have Clay who could do something. Draymond used to be able to at least do a little bit something. Nice, their bench, and then when they didn't have the bench, they had KD, and like, he doesn't have somebody else on his team like that to me, especially at least in the playoffs. Like Cat, again, I know he's pretty good offensively, but every time he's been in the playoffs, he's not been good. Or at least he hasn't played up to his potential. He's been like 15 or 17 points, something like that. So, I like we're saying, we got 2 weeks left. I think it is, we're going to see a lot more from some of these teams down the stretch. But I think so much of this year really just comes down to what are they going to be doing, when we really get down to it in the playoffs.
Okay, we're talking about these top seeds. OKC obviously with Shea, and Anthony Edwards with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Obviously, it's been a while since Shea's sniffed the playoffs. I think the last time he was in the playoffs was when CP3 was on OKC in the bubble. So he's had a couple of games under his belt, but obviously different circumstances. And like we say, Anthony Edwards been in the playoffs these past 2 seasons. Who do you think is going to have a better playoff run?
I absolutely would trust Shea to have because Shea already has the main thing we talk about is consistency. He's scored 30 points more than anybody else in the league. And Luka averages like 5 more points a game than him, which just shows you like he might not always have the highs of getting to 50 and 60, but my bar is basically 30 points. Like Luka might give you 20, which isn't bad, and then give you 60, which, brings his average up. But Shea is really literally like 30 points a night, like consistently 30 points a night. And again, we haven't seen it for real in the playoffs, but I do remember even his first playoff run, when I think he was a rookie or in his second year, he wasn't bad. And he was also like the third or scoring option or something like that.
He had 1 or 2 like good outings.
So
he had a couple good games with against the Rockets in the playoffs too. I'm curious to see, is he gonna get those foul calls in the playoffs? Because if you don't get those foul calls, it's gonna be a little tough.
Yeah, I mean, that's I feel like with so many people though, if you don't really get those foul calls, it can change a lot of things for you. But I think that he has his bag in his game. He
has no weakness.
Yeah, I might go down from 30 to 25, but I'm still going to consistently give you that 25. And, we talked about he doesn't have any stars, but he has a deep team around him. Like all those like J-Dub, Chet, Kaysen I like, Lou Dort, Josh Giddey has been hooping this past week. Josh Giddey, you're hilarious. He's been actually hooping this past week.
You've been hitting that Tracy, but I'm still cheating off of that nigga in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I feel you. But at least if he can play some of how he's been playing, because that's also why his minutes are down this year, and this is the best they've been. It's because it's like, my bro, you can't shoot.
Yeah. Andre Roberson sometimes.
But he's better than Andre Roberson. Andre Roberson shouldn't have been in the league, bro.
That nigga had one. Defense. I'm just talking about defensively. One of the best perimeter defenders I've seen.
Yeah, but it's a lot of dudes who can play defense. But you gotta be able to bring something on the other end of the court.
Hey, man.
Something.
Right. Yeah.
At least Tony Allen could go bang on somebody. Like he could hit a couple of shots. He was giving you maybe 10 points a game. Andre Roberson was giving you 3 to 4 points a game. some
Got
good
paid.
defense.
He got paid, nigga.
And like 30% from the
That
free
nigga
throw.
got like
You remember
a
that?
$50 million contract.
He was it was like 1 year in the playoffs. He was missing like 10 free throws in a row.
Oh, against Golden State?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That nigga was terrible.
Which also makes me think, like, why was it so hard for not Golden State, OKC to, like, find, like, a sniper to complement Russ and KD? Like, why was it so hard?
I think they have kind of like a little bit of hit or miss drafting. Like, we know, of course, they did some amazing drafting, but I think some of their other picks outside of that just could have been better.
Mm-hmm.
And then because they drafted so well with those top guys, they didn't really have a lot of money to go out and just sign a bunch of snipers.
Somebody. Yeah, that was crazy. That's all they needed.